Hey, I just picked up one of these Firefly little sister copy electric guitars. Overall, this is a great guitar, but there's one design flaw that this has, and that is the tuners are for classical nylon strings. They have these plastic pegs, and steel strings over time are going to dig into those plastic pegs and cut them and dampen your tone. In this video, I'm going to retrofit these tuners to the correct steel peg slot head tuners that are going to be for steel string. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you. These are the necessary tools you're going to need for this project: drill, wood saw, wood glue, wooden dowel, drill bits, and replacement tuners. First, we're going to remove the strings. Once you remove the strings, you're going to remove the tuners. You're going to need a screwdriver, which I forgot to add into the tool list. And you're going to remove these screws. And your tuners will slide right off. Once you've removed the tuners, you're going to need to measure these holes and get a drill bit that's larger than these so you can install a dowel to plug these. Then re-drill them for the new tuners. Right now you can see they're a little too large, and you're going to need to plug them with a dowel and glue them and re-drill them for the new tuners. This is the most difficult part of the upgrade. You're going to do this at your own risk. This wood is very thin here. You have a very strong chance of chipping it. You're going to have to be very careful. I recommend a sharp new drill bit or dremeling it by hand. No matter what, when you get that size, you're going to have to get a plug or a dowel to fill that in at that correct size. I've drilled these holes. I have a dowel that is the correct size for these. I had to actually make the dowel due to the drill bit that I was using. Again, you can measure these, utilize drill bits you have, purchase correct dowels, make correct dowels. Now that I've drilled the tuner holes, you're going to get wooden dowels. I'm going to cut a certain section of the dowel and insert it as a plug. I'm going to put it in first as far as it goes. I'm going to mark it with a pencil. And then when I remove it, that piece is going inside of the headstock. I'm going to cut it there. I'm going to fit it to make sure that it's flush, and then I'm going to glue it in. I don't want to deal with having to route anything out inside of here or hand cut anything inside of the slot. I want to make sure it's fit to size and gluing it in. Again, you're going to put the dowel in as far as it can go. You're going to mark it with a pencil. And then once you remove it, you're going to have that line. And then you're going to cut it with a saw at the line. These don't have to be perfect. You can hand sand them before you glue them. I've cut these dowels. These are going to be for the inside. I'm going to dry fit them first. I may have to run them through the entire piece. And these go in perfectly flush. I don't have to do any cleanup with that. So I'm going to remove them, glue them, put them in place, and do the same thing with the next row on the outside. I'm going to put it in so that it's flush on the inside, mark it, cut it. So I've cut these wooden dowels. I slid them in partially. We're going to do the center row first, and then I will cut and we'll show you how to glue the outer row. I'm going to first put some glue in to the hole. This isn't a structural piece, it's just a support to hold the other side of the tuner in place. This is going to be a little messy. I'm using wood glue. You can use epoxy, whatever glue that you're comfortable with. Wood glue is going to be easier to clean up wet or dry. Once that's in, I'm going to push this across into place. And I already cut and measured this so it's flush on either side. And I'm going to do the same thing with the other two dowels. Putting some wood glue in. This one I was able to cut the entire length. These I have to do 2 pieces. Putting this one in, the smaller piece. Go. And these are flush. Do one more time. And now these are flush. Anything that sticks out a little bit you can clean up. Should be able to clean up easily with a little bit of sandpaper. And then once this dries, I'm going to fit and measure for the outer parts. Now I've got the 3 plugs for the outer sides I'm going to glue in right now. Apply some wood glue. And you push them in, try and make sure they're as flush as possible where you want them. This one's a little out, so I'm just going to give it a little bit of a tap to get it in place. Clean any of the glue on the inside. You can use a wooden mallet. You can use a wooden dowel with the hammer to act as a wedge. I'm comfortable enough with that metal hammer. And again, this wood glue, you'll be able to clean it up with some water either now or once it's dry. So don't worry about this spillage. This guitar does have a finish on it. That will not get damaged from water or the glue. Now that the glue has dried and we've plugged the tuner holes, we're going to have to drill them out for the new tuners. I'm going to attach some pieces of tape. Then I will measure and make lines across for when I drill these post holes out. I will be able to follow that line, make sure that I'm trying to get it as straight as possible. Once I attach the tape, I'm going to find from the side here where the plug is, and I'm going to make a line right here in the center. Again, I'm doing this freehand. Once that's done, I'm going to make a straight line across. for when I'm drilling this by hand, I will make sure to get both holes in one drill. You can go back and check the markers with your tuners. I'm going to hold these up against the line to cover the line to see if I need to compensate or make the line straight. And they look pretty good. So now I'm just going to turn this, clamp this, drill in the dead center, and I'll be watching those lines to make sure that the drill goes straight. I have the headstock in a vise. I'm going to first do a pilot hole with a smaller drill bit. It's going to be about half the size of the actual drill bit I'm using for the tuners. The actual drill bit for these tuners is going to be approximately 1/4 inch. You're going to have to make sure you get the correct size drill bits for your tuners when you're doing this project. First, I'm going to drill a pilot hole, and then I'm going to go through with the larger drill bit to drill the full size hole. I'm going to do a pilot hole first with a thinner drill bit, and then I'm going to do a second hole with the larger drill bit. I'm just going to put it in the center. I'm going to make sure that I follow that magic marker line that I drew on the tape. Now I have the larger drill bit, and I'm going to go through after doing that pilot hole, and I need to make sure that I follow that line I made with the tape. Once that's in, I'm going to put the tuner in, and there we go. That's flush. And there's no play with it. I've removed the tape so you can see when I installed the tuner, it lined up with that line. It's flat on either side, and the angle is correct. Next thing you're going to need to do is drill tiny little holes to install the tuner screws. Now that I've installed the pegs, drilled the holes, I did a quick touch-up on the insides so that you can't see the bare wood. Before you install the tuners, you're going to need to put them in place so you can mark them and drill pilot holes for the retaining screws. These tuners came with screws that are just a tad too long. And if you can see here, they're almost at the edge of the wood, so they might split out the wood. So I'm going to have to cut these with the wire cutters or some sort of nippers. This is an example of what the regular length of screw is and the shorter one after I cut it. And I used these wire cutters that I have. You could also use nippers. When installing these screws, you never want to put them in directly into the wood. Even if there is a pilot hole drilled, you always want to run them along a piece of regular candle wax or beeswax. And you're going to run the edge along, or you're going to get a little piece of the wax itself, warm it up in your hand, and then you can insert it into the hole before you put the screw in. This is going to prevent the screw from stripping or the head snapping off. I have some wax on the screw. I'm going to put it into the pilot hole. And I'm going to screw it in. And that's it. The tuners are installed. All the retaining screws are put into place. Next thing we're going to do is string this up, and then it's ready. Well, I hope you found this video helpful. Thanks for watching. If you want to see more videos like this in the future, like and subscribe.